And then we have a gift store, bookstore there, and then all of our offices, and an auditorium that we do programs in.
Really?
So
that's tremendous.
So we've covered a lot of our needs that we had. We've got plenty of open space outdoor classrooms that we use as part of our environmental education lessons. We take kids out and sample from the river. We go out into the swamps and get to see various aspects of the habitats. And then we bring it all into the classroom and interpret it and use the exhibit hall and other programs to kind of demonstrate our purpose.
Now you yourself as a biologist and now the manager, I mean, you are seeing new things every time you go out, aren't you?
Every
I mean,
it's
got to be an everyday occurrence.
Is
that like a kid in a candy jar for you? I mean, this doesn't sound like a job.
Well, I've got 2 young boys that are kind of my living experiment, and as long as I can interest them into wanting to go outside and see these things, I feed off of that, and I use a lot of what they've taught me to try to bring their friends in and bring a lot of other kids into the fold. And to me, you know, there are a lot of different levels to teach, but the young kids seem to be fascinated with a lot of the things that they're not exposed to every day. And there's some incredible monsters that you can find under a microscope that you don't know that exist in the water table until you bring them in and look at them, and they rival anything that they might find on TV or in their Game Boy, internet, or anything else. So,
what is the thing that really clicks? I mean, obviously, that's a great example. Or there's some other things on an educational side that kind of the core aspect that something that they find particularly exciting, or just something that really ticks.
You know, the teachers love our programs. We had a volunteer that was a retired teacher that helped us scale our program to meet a lot of the standards, particularly in 5th grade level students, and that's one of our main targets. We do all levels, but we've really built programs around that 5th grade student. And really one of the things that has gotten my attention and really inspired me to keep on dreaming and building programs is some of the kids that we get out in the swamp that you would probably figure they've never seen a cypress tree or Spanish moss, and these kids really know the answers to some very difficult questions that I know I wasn't able to answer at 5th grade. And I learned that these students often may be misbehaving in class and other venues that are hard to teach and reach these students, but when they're outside, they get it, they interact. I think they're very, very, very smart kids that actually have this opportunity to kind of explore new realms of learning and interconnecting, and it just seems to really work when they're outside. And maybe their voices aren't quite as loud as they were in the classroom or whatever it is, but I remember my 5th grade school or 5th grade experience in school, and know that that's a tough age group to work with at times, but we really, really have a good program with the students we're doing.
Are you finding most of the interest on behalf of boys, on behalf of girls? Is this a pretty broad mix?
It's a broad mix, and even the teachers. One group of 5th graders actually did a PowerPoint presentation after a field trip. The kids had cameras, they took pictures, and they showed the PowerPoint to their parents after the field trip. So the teachers were inspired, the parents were inspired, and I was just amazed at what level these kids actually, and seeing things through their eyes. They took the pictures, they developed the program, and that's kind of where we're headed now, is we really want the students to help us teach the next generation or next class. So so we're really working with them to kind of see it through their eyes and capture that experience. So it's new. They may not see everything the way we see it, but that level of kind of vision is where we need to kind of go with our programs, and so that's what we're really focused on now.
Anything scary for kids when they're getting out there? Is there anything? There's got to be some things, particularly in a swampy area.
We see snakes and we see alligators, and Really, you know, the kids handle it well. Sometimes the parents and the teachers don't handle it as well, but the kids, we've got a lot of snakes that we use in our environmental ed program that we introduce the kids to figuring out the non-poisonous snakes and the snakes that they need to step around, and so that's a good program that we have. So
that's critical.
Yeah.
Another reason why volunteers must be a very important role for you all, and why viewers who may be interested or may know somebody who'd be a good volunteer should pick up the phone and call 843-527-8069. Does the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service have a similar refuge in other parts for our viewers in Bennettsville or in Hartsville or throughout the PD or even southeastern North Carolina? Are there other similar opportunities?
There are lots of refuges throughout the country, 551 I believe. In South Carolina, the Carolina Sandhills, which is very close to Hartsville and Darlington, and we've got Caper Main Refuge, which is very close to Charleston, Santee Refuge up on the Santee Lakes, and then Ace Basin Refuge down in the lower.
So 5 here in the state.
And Savannah is split right on the line, so actually 6.
But y'all's roles are not statewide. I mean, your role is truly a federal, a national here. I mean, this is a national organization, so clearly. Within the refuge, is there something, I remember reading, and I don't have that note in front of me, the word kite, something that really stuck out, a special species or something very, we've only got about 5 minutes, and I want to make sure we get to the Cox Ferry Lake Recreation Area.
Yeah, swallowtail kites, every refuge has a kind of mascot for the refuge, and swallowtail kites are ours. They are incredible birds. They migrate all the way from South America to South Carolina as their northernmost nesting range, and they nest in Florida and Georgia as well, but they are just arriving right now, and they are spectacular birds. We've got a citizen science, another way to volunteer, but citizen science network where individuals, if they see the birds, they can go online and report the kites, and we keep track of all that, and it helps us find their nests. We're doing satellite and radio telemetry this year with birds, so we'll track them all around the refuge throughout the nesting season. And so it's a very unique bird. Most folks, when they see them, they know that's a very special bird. It just is very, very beautiful, and their flight is just incredible to see. So I invite visitors to come to our visitor center. It's pretty common to see them flying right over to the visitor center. So that's our favorite bird at the refuge. There's many of them, but that's the top.
Be careful. I bet there are a lot of favorites there. And I bet hearing you talk, I mean, even though a lot of the education is driven towards a 5th grade audience or multiple grades, I bet a lot of adults come in and are fired up, Craig.
They are.
You must be excited to see this kid-like approach. We just got a minute. The Cox Ferry Lake Recreation Area, since it's near coastal and viewers could easily get there. What's it all about?
It's about 3.5 miles of trails. We've got a brand new boardwalk that goes to a Blackwater swamp. We've got a bike trail that we just recently put in. It goes from Jackson Bluff Road all the way through to the Waccamaw River. And a lot of great places out there to explore, to take your dog on a leash and walk and get some exercise. A lot of wildlife there. It's closed year-round to hunting, so we don't have any conflicts between our visitors and the hunting there. I will note the rest of the refuge is open to hunting, so this is a site that's dedicated to the visitors that are not out hunting and fishing, and it's in the city limits of Conway, and it's an incredible resource. I hope people come and use it.
That's tremendous. Craig, I'm embarrassed to say we have run out of time.
Thank you.
Great being with you this morning. Stay tuned for a little more with Craig Sasser coming up next. Normally when you hear about students running the show, you think the classroom's in total disarray. If you sat here with Craig the last 25 minutes, you get that idea. The students aren't running anything, but the opportunity to really learn the program through their eyes, to hear Craig talking about not only his own 2 sons, but also so many of their friends and other friends and folks who come in there for the first time into the Education Center, the excitement to see everything through their eyes, it must be amazing. Obviously, the opportunity to be there on the weekends, a lot of that driven, as Craig said, by volunteers, but there's other volunteer opportunities, and just the opportunity to get out there in and of itself exciting. 843-527-8069, 843-527-8069, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. We didn't talk with Craig about the easy directions to get down there off of Highway 701, but take the time to give him a call, get on down there and experience it. Just like hearing Craig talk about it, he wouldn't have been anything else except the opportunity to be there. Craig, thanks again.
Thank you.